Good morning. Hey y'all. I'm really happy to be here today. Good morning and welcome to Black Multiverse Skill Up program with Grow with Google. My name is Nicole Maxwell. I am the CEO of Black Multiverse Enterprises. I am so excited to have each of you here today. And today we're going to be learning some new skills. We're going to be talking about some new things that might help you to really frame an idea or to get the ball rolling when it comes to some innovative things that that you may have stuck in your head and thinking about how to execute those. For anyone who was watching previously, I want to say thank you for coming back. Our return viewers make everything happen. So thank you so much for your viewership. I want to welcome you from all across the globe. Again, my name is Nicole Maxwell. You're here at the Black Multiverse Skill Up program with Grow with Google. Black Multiverse is a Grow with Google certified gold high impact performing partner for 2022. We are excited to have you here, and we're excited to be able to provide this type of learning engagement to you so that you are able to put some skills to use that you might not have known you had, brush up on some skills that you didn't know before, and be able to take those and excel in your next job venture, your business or your entrepreneurship, whatever you're doing. You are going to be able to put these skills to use and make some really great and amazing things happen. Black Multiverse is dedicated to disrupting disenfranchisement in the present to preserve possibilities in the future. Everything we do is to ensure that we, as a community, as a Black people, have a place and space as we head forward into the metaverse. The Black community is like none other, and we are experiencing different and more widespread challenges when it comes to finding positions or getting in at something that's better than an entry level role. And so, unless you're able to afford a college, which we've seen, how many people around the United States specifically are affected by student loan debt, that is even more impacting in our communities. And so we want people to be able to have skills to be able to thrive. And so that is what we're doing. So again, I am extremely happy and delighted to have each one of you here today. We're going to be talking about design thinking. So for anybody who watched on Tuesday, you do know that we talked all about design thinking on Tuesday. Well, that episode or that session, that segment that we had on Tuesday, I was experiencing technical difficulties and I did not know it. It was not readily apparent to me until somebody said it in the comments, and it was well within probably the first hour of the production of that we caught that issue. So I want to definitely not have that happen again, but also be able to continue today. So we're going to redo what we did on Tuesday. So you're in luck if you missed Tuesday. Stay right here, because no matter where you are around the globe, wherever you're watching us, you're going to be able to tap into what we are doing and to some of the really cool things that we're going to be talking about today, which is how to get you thinking differently and how to really take that project or that idea, that thing that you've conceptualized, and put it into practice, put it into a space where you can now develop a roadmap and you can now know who the audience is that you're going to be communicating to, as well as give you some tips and tricks for kind of jarring, some great conversation and pathways into getting those things kind of identified. Because sometimes, if you're like me, I'm somebody who definitely every night when I go to sleep, as long as I get a good night's sleep, I come up with something new. I come up with different ideas, and I'm quick to write it down and take notes. And being able to actually take that to the next level and actually execute on that idea is something that takes a lot of energy, but two, you can spin your wheels a lot if you're not doing it the right way. So being able to actually to take advantage of some tips coming from a source such as Google is absolutely outstanding. So we've partnered with Google to bring information about how to use Google Apps to get some things done, as well as how to exceed and excel utilizing apps and things that may be freely available to you if you're an entrepreneur. So we're going to take a minute and we're going to say thank you to all of our sponsors. And before we do that, I want to say a little bit about our program. And so you can connect with us at blackmultiverse.io /basics. And you're also going to be able to connect with us at blackmultiverse.live. If you are watching us, you're probably there on blackmultiverse.live because that is our YouTube channel. If you're out on YouTube, just search for Black Multiverse Enterprises or Grow with Google, and you'll find us in the search results. But if you are, coming from perhaps Twitter, you're watching us out on Twitter. Hey, Twitter fam! Make sure that you are liking and subscribing no matter where you are. So we are broadcasting in many different locations. This episode will be aired in over 200 countries. And so when we think about being able to provide information on a worldwide level, that is a maximum distribution. And so I want to thank MaxDistro. MaxDistro is is our partner here at Black Multiverse. They are our partner in getting some great things done. Black Multiverse and the MaxDistro family have partnered together to make sure that this message it gets out there and gets heard. When we're thinking about the future, we are always thinking about the metaverse. And so I am also the host of the Meta Mind Shift Show. That Meta Mind Shift Show airs at 6 p.m. And so again, we're not married to a specific network, so we show up everywhere. So 200 plus countries is where you're going to be able to find us. You're going to be able to find us on Spotify, Roku, Hulu, in LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon, Audible, Google Cast, and a lot of other podcast locations like Deezer all across the world. So we have some really great and amazing things and wonderful mind-shifting conversations there when it comes to meta and the metaverse and who's actually building it up, who are the players, and who are the people that you need to know. So that is every Tuesday at 6 p.m. You can catch the replays of that if you're out on YouTube. Just go over to youtube.com and then go / Meta Mind Shift, and you'll be able to find us right there. One other thing that you're going to be able to do is find us on Spotify. So if you, like I said, no matter where you are, you're able to connect with us and watch us wherever you choose. And that is one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur. The other is kind of the beauty of having a network, and that is being able to extend yourself to many different networks and maximize that distribution. So again, that is MaxDistro.live. You want to connect with MaxDistro, you can either email me or Mark Lee at MaxDistro.live. That email address is info@MaxDistro.live. In Black Multiverse, we are definitely the proud owners of a website and a domain, and that is coming up and soon. But one of our initiatives has always been to educate, train, and advance in the Blackverse community. That has been our goal there. This Grow with Google partnership definitely helps support that. But Blackverse is all about being able to be decentralized and doing that. And so as a part of that, we are the owners of the Black Metaversity. And so that will be coming up. That is our educational resource for folks. So in 2023, you're going to be able to connect with us at blackmetaversity.com. And and look for some really great things. These probably all of these videos are also going to be made available to our community there as well, so that they have access to all of the skill up programs that we've taken part in Black Multiverse. Blackverse is a part of the Black Multiverse movement. So we definitely appreciate everybody who's come through. And again, MaxDistro, thank you. Before we get started today, I do want to just quickly go over some information, and that is how to support Black businesses. Black businesses need your support now more than ever. We are in a space where we are looking for support, for sponsorship, for donorship, for just allies. And so, we are often seeing that we have DEI programs out there. We have folks who are doing some really cool things when it comes to creating things for the culture, no matter where we are. But we also want to make sure that we are supporting when we do see Black businesses. And, over Thanksgiving, we have Black Friday. Black Friday has transitioned into Black-owned Business Friday, so Black-owned Friday. So you're buying Black from Black communities, from Black businesses to support. There's 4 things you can do for sure. First of all, you can like their posts. So go out to your favorite Instagram, your Twitter replacements, your social media places, so Pinterest or TikTok or whatever. Find a Black business and support their post with a like or a follow. Comment on their post, because that helps the algorithm know that people are interested in it, and therefore it spreads it out to other people. Leave a positive review. If you have had a great interaction with a Black business, leave them a review. Let other people know that you were there, and then follow them on social media. Social media is becoming the thing and the place and the way that people connect and move forward. So lastly, I'm going to say that the very last thing you need to do, no matter what you are doing when it comes to Black businesses, I need you to buy their products and their services. Like, that is extremely important in thinking about even supporting anybody, but especially our Black businesses. Buy Black owned. All right. So, having said all of that, that is taking care of housekeeping. I want to thank Artsy and VR. I also want to thank Black Multiverse. We're going to go to a quick commercial, and when we come back, we are going to have our session for the day, our education for the day, which is design thinking. How to design and think differently to get your design and your thoughts out into a product or a service. So that's what we're going to be coming up on next, after a word from our sponsors. Yes, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You are here, and today we are here for the Grow with Google design session. So we are thinking about skilling up and providing ourselves and equipping ourselves with some skills. Those skills are meant to help us pay the bills, right? So those skills, today we're going to be talking all about design thinking and what that means. We're going to break down that term, and then we're actually going to proceed to really understand how we can use design thinking to take us to another level. So that is what today's session is going to be all about. So get your pens, get your papers, get your little phones out, get your information ready to go so that you can take notes and that you can remember how to participate in design thinking and maybe use this to be a little bit more collaborative with your team and to get your message out there, right? So MaxDistro is all about making sure that your message gets heard and elevated and that you get to the next level. So that is what we're talking about today, is how to use design thinking. All right, so I'm going to pull this up. All right, and so we are ready to go, and almost. All right, now we're ready to go. Okay, and so, today we're talking all about design thinking. So my name is Nicole Maxwell. I am the CEO of Black Multiverse Enterprises. So again, I want to welcome you here. I am a implementation consultant. I have completed over 450 implementations for small businesses, for large entrepreneurships. I was the project key for a federal project that brought the one of the world's largest banks the e-signature program by DocuSign. I have done a whole lot of stuff in technology. I am a Black woman in tech. And so when we're thinking about design thinking, that is something that we utilize in technology. So when you're coming up with ideas, product development, this is absolutely a way. It's not the only way that you can do this, but it is absolutely a way that you can help yourself get to the next level. All right. So again, I want to talk today about what we are doing. And if you have questions, I want you to go ahead and tap into the comments, because no matter where you're watching us, whether that's on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, on any of the channels out on Twitter, if you're watching us on Hulu, Roku, or any of the other spaces, Audible, you guys, Spotify, do me a favor and write a comment. I want you to ask a question. Feel free to do that if you're watching us live today. If you're not watching us live, if you're watching this on replay in any of the over 50 destinations that this will be in, I want you to go ahead and send us an email or send us a comment if you felt like this was very useful information at the outset of this. I'm going to remind you too, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and share this experience. All right. So when we're thinking about design thinking, we are going to, first of all, tackle, well, what the heck is design thinking, right? So what is design thinking? We're going to help you to understand your audience and define who your audience is and what makes them think. We're also, or what makes them tick, I'm sorry. We're also going to identify challenges. So when we're thinking about challenges, what is your challenge? We always ask that when we're talking about businesses. What is your challenge that you're experiencing in your business? I'm not a fan of the word issue. So what is your challenge? And then we're going to be able to craft and test some solutions. So we're going to walk you through the steps to get all those things done. All right, we are going to do a few activities today. And so we want you to take notes. I want you to take some notes. So if you can, grab some paper, grab a pen, because we're going to do brainstorming later on. I want you to have something available to you so that you can write those things down, okay? Go ahead, and if you are an existing Google subscriber, if you subscribe to Google Gmail, if you subscribe using Sheets, Google Docs, or maybe your work has Google Workspaces, go ahead and sign in. And so you'll be able to do exactly what's happening on screen right there. You're going to click the little app icon up at the top, or the sign in button up at the top, and then sign in. If you do not have a Google account already, just go to google.com, and then up at the upper right hand corner, you're going to see sign in. Right next to that, you should be able to see create an account. All right. And once you're in, I want you to click on the apps icon and then go down, find your Google Drive. Now, sometimes you can manipulate the way that your app drawer looks like, so the order that the apps are in. So if you've done that, you got to search for your drive. If not, it's going to be in the upper, I think it's in the upper top 3 rows by default, okay? Now, inside of your Google Drive, I want you to go ahead and do me a favor. You're going to click on Docs. So Google Docs. It is blue. You're going to click on Google Docs, and that will open up a brand new Google Doc for you. Now, this is going to open that. Because you've opened it, it is going to automatically save this in your Google Drive. So that's one of the great things about Google, is that it automatically saves everything you're doing. You don't have to sit there and push that save button anymore. That is a thing of the past, and I'm so grateful for that, because, man, I lost some great documentation back in the day. All right. Let's talk about design thinking. What is it? So design thinking is a creative problem-solving process that focuses on a user-centered approach to create a solution that is technologically and economically feasible. So what that means is that things are, like, the common term for this is brainstorming. This is an approach that has been used to brainstorm solutions for issues that plague our society. Issues like getting kids to have healthy school lunches. Issues like helping well-established companies redefine their place in a fast-changing industry. You can use design thinking to come up with your very first business idea. If you're, working for somebody else right now, and you've got this gnawing idea that just won't go away, maybe you want to flush it out. Maybe you just don't know how. This is the perfect space for you today. Design thinking isn't just for coming up with the next great product or your business. It is an absolutely important part of how you connect with your customers now and in the future. We all know that we are moving towards Web3. And if you don't know that, you can contact me at metamindshift.com, and we can schedule a consultation to help you get caught up. But Web3 is coming. And so Web3 is a movement where things are becoming decentralized. So as they become decentralized, meaning more focused on a company, they're becoming recentered on community and the user, the person, the participant in an activity. All right. So what is technologically and economically feasible does not need to enter into this conversation today. So what you can do, technically speaking, what you can do based on your funds that are available to you, that's not really a part of this. You want to make sure that you are having an open door to new thoughts, an open door to innovation. Let innovation in, and then work out how you actually go about getting funding for what you're trying to do, or if something exists, or if it doesn't exist, how you're going to move based on that. But always start with the idea that the sky's the limit and you have not reached the top of that sky yet, okay? What you're able to create as a student is going to be very different from what you're able to create as a mid-level manager, or what you're going to be able to ideate as that different type of professional. So this doesn't take that into account either. This process meets you where you are. So you are the person steering this process forward. And so you get to decide what the inputs are going to be for you. All right. So the important thing to keep in mind is that when you're using the design thinking process, it's going to provide you with a framework that you'll be able to use even if you don't have a ton of resources available. So just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to be showing you examples later on in the workshop, but let's talk about design thinking. So we talked about it as a creative problem-solving process. What does that framework look like? Well, welcome to the design thinking framework. All right, so we have a phased approach. This is the methodology that's being used for design thinking. This is the methodology that's utilized at Google to come up with some of the great and wonderful, fantastic things that Google actually does for us. First of all, empathize. Phase 1 is to empathize. In this phase, you observe your ideal audience. You engage with them and immerse yourself in their challenges and their needs. Good design is all about understanding the needs of your community. Define. In the define phase, you're going to be expressing the problem of your community or your users in the form of their points of view. Ideate. In the ideation phase, you will transition from identifying problems to finding solutions for those problems. If there's a prototype, you're going to be able to develop the prototype. Now, that phase is all about getting ideas out of your head and into the real world. What does a prototype look like for what you're trying to do? Test. That's our last phase. Now, this phase is all about testing. So there's a word that, if you're in technology, you absolutely understand it. It is called iterate. The agile process definitely brought that forward, but you're going to be able to iterate through a different set of prototypes. Test, learn, and iterate. Test, learn, iterate. Prototype, test, learn, iterate. Continue and repeat. Rinse and repeat. That is the process. So you test, you learn, you iterate. It's a continuous process for refining your prototype. All right. So those are the different phases. Those are the 5 things that we're going to focus on and we're going to talk about today in our session on design thinking. All right. So we talked about what design thinking is. We talked about the phases of methodology for the framework, but how is it used and who's actually using this? So who's putting this into practice today? Well, there are products that you're using every single day that think about design thinking. And so designers and innovators such as myself thought about you, the consumer, the needs and the challenges that you had around your everyday activities to make your products and your services that you use and that you buy look better, that function better, act better, and serve you better. Let's look at some of those examples, okay? All right, so my favorite thing to do in the world is to watch movies. So let's think about the idea of television and movies. So think now about television and movies. So TV specifically. So we've seen an evolution of TV from years ago, right? So TV watchers used to have these challenges. So think back when I was a young girl, I used to run home from school so that I could catch things like General Hospital or Young and the Restless at 2:00, depending on, what time of year it was. But it would be things that like I missed because I was in school, or like I try to catch like the last 5 minutes so I could see what was happening with Sunny and Brenda on General Hospital. So I used to have that problem, but now I don't have that problem, right? Like now we look around and now, when I want to see General Hospital, I turn it on whenever I want to because I'm a subscriber to something like Hulu or Amazon Prime, right? So I can watch it on demand. Well, there were a lot of phases in between there. If you recall, we went from having live TV to having recorded TV to having VHS, so being able to record on a tape. So some of y'all might remember that. And then we moved into DVRs, right? So digital video recorders, right? So we had DVDs and we had DVRs. Like the R was like, ooh, we got the R, we can record now. I remember when Comcast rolled that out, we can record now. And then we also moved on, and now everything's in the cloud. Like I don't have to have that big old set-top box. Do you remember when we got rid of those? We don't have the big, huge set-top boxes anymore because everything is stored in the cloud. And so each of those things is an iteration. It is an iteration of an idea that continued to be improved and continued to get better over time. Things were tested out, and eventually we got to a place where everybody's happy, right? So you can watch on demand whenever you want to. So now You can skip through commercials if you want to. If you pay enough, you can skip through. You don't even have commercials. You don't have to worry about that, right? So think about that. So another example, maybe you're not into TV or the movies or anything like that. So let's talk about something else. So we've seen iterations of cars, right? So almost all car owners have had to deal with a reality, and that is that sometime you are going to have your hands full and you're trying to get into your car with your hands full. Now, sometimes that shows up in the form of having like two kids on your hips. Other times that shows up in the form of having a whole bunch of groceries in your hands, or maybe you're loading a 2x4, or you're trying to front load the washer or dryer into the car. Like those kinds of things have always required that you have more hands than the two that are available to you, right? And so, thinking about those kinds of things, thinking about the challenges that people have opening doors when their hands are full, are reasons why we now have the little pop-up, the little buttons on our remotes, right? Some cars, you just open them, you open the door with your hand. You don't have to have keys anymore, or the keys don't actually have to be out, and you don't have to like turn the lock anymore. And now we have gotten to a space where some cars allow you to actually just use your foot. And so you're using your foot to open up the trunk or open up the back compartment, and it just flies open and it's magical, right? The same thing with doors. So you have seen iterations of this thing that have come from the fact that there's a certain challenge that someone just thought was interesting enough to try to solve. Think about the things that you do on a daily basis, and then think about how you can change something. And so that is going to lead us right into the first phase of this, which is empathize, right? So the first phase in our design thinking is empathy and providing empathy and empathizing, okay? All right. So the first step in design thinking process is to establish empathy. What is empathy? Some people really don't know what that is. And so let me help you. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Some people are great empathizers and they empathize literally everything. And because they empathize with that, they end up getting the short stick sometimes, right? So, oh, I know how she feels. And so you end up, giving away everything because you know what it's like to be in someone else's shoes or someone else's place. But that's empathy. You have lots of it if you're that person. Okay, so if we wanted to focus on the user or the community, we should use the design thinking process to really put ourselves in that user or community's place. So think about ways to connect to stories, to insights, and to people's emotions. We should be able to put ourselves in their shoes, right? So you can think about what would they be feeling at this given moment, or what do they need because of this thing that they have expressed to me. Well, in design thinking, you become the person or the population that you're hoping to build a solution. You think about that user as if they are yourself, but with their lens. So if you don't have the troubles that they have, putting yourself in their shoes and saying that you're them is not helpful. You have to really try to be that person and understand what they're going through. Let's talk about some examples. So when you're going to be identifying the group, right? So first of all, don't go with the big humongous group. So the big humongous group would be something like the parents or parents everywhere, right? That's not helpful. You need to niche it down a little bit. So niche it down to parents of toddlers or parents of toddlers in New York City. And think about the specific challenges that they have. Now, if I'm doing this and I'm thinking about parents of toddlers in New York City, the first thing that comes to my mind is traffic. Like, man, I would hate to have a toddler in New York City. That would be awful. How do we prevent those kids from running out in the street? How do we prevent those kids from getting away from us in a crowded space. So those are all great ways that you can think about being someone else, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And you don't have to be them, but you do need to be able to understand what they're going through. Now, how do you get here? Well, sometimes it's okay to just go ask somebody, like, what do you go through on a day-to-day basis? Ask multiple people so that you understand the population a little bit more. That's okay. This is a part of researching why you are, or so that you have the best product available to serve the community that you're trying to serve. And you know what? Sometimes you find that through all of the things that you were thinking about, they're not even going to be served by what you were going to do. So you have to go find a new audience. Like, that's not the audience for you. This is a practice, and it's not going to happen perfectly the first time. You're not just going to wake up and magically be empathetic if you were not an empathetic person in the first place. So take some time and learn how to do this right. Dive into core issues that people are trying to face or that people are facing on a daily basis. Get out and be a little bit more diverse than you have been previously. So we're going to make sure that we're able to do that, right? So in addition to that, I want you to think about the way that you may have described your users in the past. Nicole Maxwell is not a fan of the word target, especially when we're talking about communities and groups of people. The reason for that, the reason I dislike that term, is because one, target is something that you use. It's target, and I always envision a dartboard, right? Like you're throwing darts at a community, and I would hate to throw darts at anyone in my community. I love all their little beautiful faces, right? But also, when you think about target, there is target practice. And so you think about, sometimes you think about like a deer in headlights, or a deer that has been hunted down. There is prey and there is predator. And so that to me is another form of target. I don't like thinking of my communities in that way. So I always talk about my audience. It is very rare that I slip up and say target, but sometimes I do. I try not to, though. I literally try not to do that because it is not a word that I personally resonate with. I want to know the community, the user, the audience. And there's other ways of saying that. So I try to avoid that as much as possible. So if you hear me say it, I'm going to do like they used to do on the Gong Show, and I'm going to ding a bell or something. All right. All right. Anyway, so when you're thinking about how you may have described your users or your audience in the past, sometimes we start with the demographic information. So you have your gender, your age, your nationality. Sometimes you only consider one characteristic of an individual, such as, oh, they're a parent, or, oh, they're a working professional, right? When it comes to your community, your users, your potential audience, you want to be as specific as possible so that you understand them and what makes them tick. Dig deeper into their needs. Create a solution that they will resonate with and that they want to jump on at the chance, and so that they can benefit from it. Now let's look at a few examples. So you might say that your audience is BIPOC women or Black and Indigenous people of color, okay? You may say that your audience is women of color. You may also say that your audience is women. But you know what? All those groups are humongous, right? Like, so maybe you niche that down a little bit. This is what it's called. It's called niching it down. You find a specific subset of that community that you want to be your audience. So let's say that you're looking to create a natural hair care line specifically for women of color. Well, we've seen lots of these products out here, so we know that there are definitely a market for women of color with natural hair. So a more targeted explanation of that community would be women of color looking for products without added chemicals or toxins. Or it could also be women of color who want to use natural products due to health or allergy concerns. It may also be women of color looking to transition from the relaxer, or women of color who are joining the no lie relaxer movement, or women of color who have used the no lie relaxer. Like, you want to kind of really be specific about it. Another example of this, if you're not a woman of color and you don't understand hair or anything that I just said, that's fine. There's other things. So you can be a parent, right? So even if you aren't a parent, most of us have at least one or have had at least one person to serve as a parental unit for us, right? So you're likely to already know that there's a huge difference between the different stages of child, right? So all parents have children of some age. So there are newborns, there are toddlers, there are the in-betweens, there are the tweens, there are teenagers, and then there are young adults. And then as you grow up, you are a adult parent with an adult child, right? Like, so that relationship continues. You have all of those different segments to be really specific about and to focus on as a potential audience for your product. Maybe you market your products or services to seniors over the age of 70. I am really passionate about this, as well as our differability community, making sure that we are making pathways and space in the future and for the future for them. So when we're thinking about seniors over the age of 70, we think, first of all, about, or well, to me, I think about the people who are in that age range getting ready to move and transition into that age range. So those who are in their 55 to 70 age, that age range, right? So that's a specific population. What are the needs of that population? How can we best serve them as they're entering into the elderly space? What do elderly people need? Another way to look at this would be to focus on the elderly who don't have young adults to support them. So what are they doing? How are they getting about? And how are they staying safe? Those are all great ways to think about your audience and creating products that will help serve them. Additionally, you can think about Latinx college students. So Latinx college students might be a specific group of people that you can focus on and build out products for. Maybe you're offering temporary housing to college students. So you could focus your efforts and say that Latinx students or their parents are seeking temporary housing near universities. That's who you're going to focus on. Okay, now then you would go find the specific geographic location that matched your needs based on this idea. Depending on your business or your idea, you might be thinking, my users can be from all different walks of life and they don't fall into any one demographic. Oh my goodness, what do I do? Well, this could be true if you say you're like an online counselor or you own a shoe repair business. In this case, think about what makes your audience unique. What makes them unique? What is it that that they, and how can they benefit from that? Find a niche that makes you unique to them. For example, maybe your shoe repair business offers 24-hour turnaround for repairs. Your ideal community or your ideal users might be business travelers or people with an important event coming up. How often have you seen like shoe repair in the mall or shoe repair in the airport, right? So we see all those kind of things. If you already have a business and you're unsure of who your users are or who your next users can be, you can use tools like Google Analytics to learn more about your audience. Now, I will tell you that you're here for a treat. So if you were here a couple weeks ago, then you already know this, but we had a session on Google Analytics. And Google Analytics is a session that we did with the Fred Brandon Flames Foundation. And we were able to deliver information. So if you do not know how to use that, then I want you to go ahead and watch that video. And I'm going to put a link somewhere up here. So I want you to be able to partake and watch that as well, because it's going to be really, really cool for you to be able to see all the things that were going on. All right. All right. So I want you to inspire new thinking by discovering what people really need. You're going to select an audience. So you just spend some time kind of just finding what this looks like. You're going to select who your audience is. So whether it's going to be those busy professionals, after school teachers, your parents with young children, you're going to use that Google Docs that you have open, and you're going to write down who that user base or that community is. And then you're going to write down a list of 5 challenges that they face. So, what are the challenges for this specific community? Now, in this activity, I want you to make sure that you are stepping into the shoes of the user. So step into that person's place and define what it looks like. What are their challenges? Be very specific about who they are. Remember what we just talked about. Put yourselves into their shoes and brainstorm all the potential obstacles that they might come across. All right. Now, you can pause this video and take a minute to really step into that and put it out there into the universe. Define what that looks like for you, and write out this list as we head into the next phase. All right, welcome back. If you hit the pause button, if you didn't and you're still checking with us, then you're going to keep on rolling right on into phase 2, which is the design phase. In design thinking, the second phase is define. So we are going to define a problem. Actually, we're going to define a problem statement. That's a little bit different. We define problems all day long, right? We can say, that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem. Well, we're going to define a statement about that problem in this section, all right? Now you have a clear image of who your users are. Your goal is going to be to analyze your observations about these users, synthesize them to define the core problems that you're identifying as a statement, as a problem statement. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but what is a problem statement? You might be wondering. Well, a problem statement is a succinct statement that's going to clearly organize some things for you. So it's going to clearly organize the idea of the characteristics of the user. It's going to organize the needs of the user, the core problem that you've just identified. It's going to state that. And then it's going to provide some insights into why. So the why, we always talk about that. Like, remember your why. Why is the user experiencing this need? Developing a problem statement is critical in the design thinking process. So let's take a look at an example. All right, so on my screen it says, Sam is a busy manager who needs a way to integrate healthy eating habits because Sam does not want to feel like Sam is on a diet. Now, Sam could be a he or a she or they. You fill in your favorite pronoun there, okay? So it doesn't matter, but Sam is the person we're talking about. Sam's problem is that he's busy, right? Sam needs a way to integrate healthy eating habits. Have you ever been Sam? Think about that. So this is the empathy stage of this, right? Have you ever been Sam where you're just busy and you're too busy to eat? I remember there were days when like I would be working as the director of professional services, and I was so busy that I'd forget to eat. And like I'd start feeling like lightheaded, like what's going on? I would just forget to eat. And it's because I was so busy that like it just didn't matter at the time, but then you get hit with it later in the day. So how do we keep people from fainting at their desks because they're so busy? First of all, we remove some of that workload. Hey, come on, entrepreneurship. But second of all, we make sure that there are options available. So maybe in the refrigerator at work. I would have never eaten out of that particular refrigerator, but there are other refrigerators. There are other vending machines that could be available, or Now we have things like DoorDash and we have things like Uber Eats. And so they are bringing us these healthy options to our workspaces or to our workplaces, right? So that is how you get to that space. So you're defining a problem. All right. It can be tempting to insert a solution in your problem statement, but try to hold off on that. You want to make sure that you're not doing that. So let's think about that. So instead of saying, Sam really needs to learn about nutrition to get a better eating experience during lunch. And we all know that we should eat better, but why do so many diets fail? There's a whole lot of emotion, a whole lot of frustration and that feeling. And you just want to give up all the yummy food. You want to get it and you want to eat it and you want to give it to Sam because Sam is great. And you just know that Sam's going to be benefiting from all this healthy food in his face. And we know that we need to eat better. And sometimes he knows that he needs to eat better, but like we didn't remind him. So we really want to make sure that he was reminded to eat better. We need to know that when we eat better, we feel better, but we don't want to feel like we're on a diet, right? That's too much. That is what we call too much. That's way too much information. So what we want to do is scale it back, make it simple, keep it sweet, right? So in technology, we have a term called KISS, KISS. We keep it simple, sweetie. Keep it simple, Sam. Keep it simple, something, right? Or keep it so simple. So you take your options there, but you have the idea of keeping it simple. So what we're going to do instead of all that, we're going to say, Sam is a busy manager who needs to find a way to integrate healthy eating habits into his day because he doesn't want to feel like he's on a diet. Okay, so now we know his why, we know the what, and we know the who, right? And we know the impact, right? So the impact of this, the reason this is happening is because he's busy. Okay, so now we understand Sam a little bit more, and I didn't have to use all those words to get us to that space. Now it's your turn. In just a few moments, I'm going to give you a few minutes. And again, if you're following along with us on a replay, or if you're at home right now, just pause and then come back when you're done. I'm going to give you a few minutes to work on your problem statement. So think about the users that we just identified a problem for. Think about that specific group and then write out their problem statement. What does it look like to be them? What does it look like to synthesize a problem statement that's defining our goal? Define the problem as a problem statement in a human-centered manner, meaning the username is a user characteristic who needs a need because they had an insight, right? So that's the format we're going to use. Pause and then come back. All right, so welcome back. All right, so Sam is a busy manager who needs to integrate healthy eating habits because he doesn't want to feel like he's on a diet. Thank you for participating. Read me your problem statement. I always say this because you want to read it to make sure that it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, go back and revise it a little bit, refine it, or iterate on it so that it comes out and can be spoken to someone else. All right. All right. Now we're in my favorite part. This is called the ideation phase, or the phase where we are going to come up with ideas. Ideate. Okay. So the third phase in design thinking is ideating. We're ideating. All right. Now that we've empathized with our users, we've defined their problem statement. Now we get to brainstorm and come up with ideas for this user, for this problem. This is the phase where we're going to think about all the possible solutions that come to mind, right? Now, it's important that, we're going to go through these steps, but sometimes you know you better than the process does. So if you are somebody like me who wakes up fixing problems because you fix them all in your sleep, then do this phase when you wake up in the morning and go to sleep thinking about that particular problem. If you're somebody who does really, really well in a group of people, like you want to collaborate with people and come up with ideas, then first of all, come up with your own first. and then take those to a group brainstorming session. Other ways to do this are to write them out in a spreadsheet, or you can write them down. You can come up, sometimes it's helpful to use a thesaurus. Other times you are just going to do this over like the span of a week. Like maybe you're going to set a time, noon every single day for a week. I'm going to think about this problem and then write down 5 potential solutions for the problem. However this works for you, do it. Use this process as a framework for what works for you. Okay. All right. So Google actually does this. And so Google in technology, in the iterative process that is known as agile process, there's something called sprints. And sprints are where you're taking a dedicated look at a problem, a solution, and a task, and getting that task completed over a designated set of time, right? So it's a sprint. You're sprinting towards the solution, you're sprinting towards a release, you're sprinting towards a product rollout. That is a sprint, right? It moves you really, really fast towards a goal. All right. Using a Google Doc, this is what Google does. So using a Google Doc, you are going to create a 2x4 table in Google Docs. Now, some of y'all are like, a what? It's going to be a 2x4 table. So it's a grid in Google that will allow you to actually capture the words that you're going to capture. You can also accomplish this with just a list. So if you want to create a list of just 8 words, you could do that. If you are somebody who's going to use paper, you could also just use a paper listing. And just write out your words on a piece of paper. So you can be as cool with this as you want to. So you can also do a table using Google Docs. To do that, what you're going to do is insert a 2x4 table. So to do that, go ahead and if you're in Google Docs, click on Insert at the top. And then you're going to come down and find the word table. And then you're going to go across to, and so you'll see like these little boxes come up on the right-hand side. You're going to go across to with your mouse, and then you're going to come down 4. And that's going to give you your selection of a 2x4. There are 2 columns and 4 rows is what that does. Okay, so you're going to be able to insert that and then fill it out, right? So another way to do this is if you have like a piece of paper. Okay, so take a piece of paper, fold it into 8s. So you have like a whole like 8 little rectangles. So fold it once down down the middle, and then fold it twice so that you get 8. So whatever you're doing, whatever way you're doing this, you're going to come up with 8 ideas, and 8 ideas are going to be 8 ideas to help you push forward your problem and your solution for that problem, right? The point here is going to be to practice just letting loose and come up with as many possibilities as possible. Don't worry about whether or not it's possible. Possibilities possible. Don't worry about whether or not it's something that you can actually achieve. Just do it. Like, put the idea out into the universe. Blue sky thinking is encouraged. All right, so why did we do that? What? The beauty of this process is that we can let our mind go wild with ideas. Get back to a few examples when we were discussing different user groups. Okay, so let's go back. Women of color who were looking for socially conscious brands, or women of color who were looking for hair products that were not going to contain sulfur, or hair products that helped our hair look magnificent even when we had color, less damaging hair products, things like that. So depending on whatever we defined, that is what you're going to go forward with, right? So you may have already have in mind the kind of products and services that you want to offer to these users. But if you are ideating, you can be considering all the different ways that you can offer a solution to the challenge. Your first thoughts might be to create an all-natural hair care line for women of color. Then again, you might consider not offering a product to this user group and instead alleviating a challenge. So maybe you create a database of all the natural hair care products or the different levels of pH and all the hair care products that are out there. Additionally, you might have another idea, and that idea might be to actually open up a salon or provide beauty services to this specific community. So those are all different ways that you can help that specific audience. It does not have to be the same thing. So get out there and think differently. Think differently. That's what's important. Oh, another example another example of, man, they are just having fun over there. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Okay, so another example is the Latinx college students looking for temporary housing. So the college students who are looking for temporary housing, like, what do they need? What are our solutions for them? So let's think about a couple different solutions for them. So first of all, an idea might come to mind while you're perhaps creating like an online roommate matching service, something that's specific to the Latinx community only. If you want to consider going to, let's say, a product route, you can consider investing in perhaps buildings that are supporting as dormitories or temporary rentals for this specific user group. So like a Latinx focused type of Airbnb franchise or something like that. So then you're going to take this and get outside the box. So what if these students don't really need housing because you created online learning programs for them instead? So they get their college credits from home, right? So think about how you can create solutions. Solution-oriented creation is what this is all about. You see how the ideation phase can be opening up your mind to new things and different ways of solving problems. But did you also think about how it opens your mind to really put that empathy into action? So you've already defined that, you've stepped into these people's shoes, but how do you fix it? That's what these phases come together and do. And I really love that. Okay, so ideally, the recommended practice is to have an unlimited amount of time to engage in unrestricted brainstorming. So like I said, span it out over the course of a week. But for this specific session today, for what you're doing with me today, I want you to pause this video, write down some of your ideas, and then come back and unpause it, right? No idea is going to be too out of this world for this specific piece of this, and no one is stopping you. So take that innovation, take your ideas, write them down, and make sure that your ideas can be heard. Now, because I'm all about the blockchain, and this is one thing that I'm really super passionate about, is capturing your ideas and making sure that you have them. I recommend putting this out into either IPFS, the Interplanetary File System, where it can be encrypted to prevent others from capturing your information, or making it an NFT and perhaps putting the idea into an NFT. So create an image that stands for what you want it to stand for, and then insert your idea as an unlockable. That way, in 5 years, when you actually are this big famous person because you've been able to act on all of your ideas, that idea is stored on the blockchain, and it shows that you were the one who created it and shows the date that you had your vision. I love that. I do this all the time. So definitely highly recommend it. Okay, so let's keep going. If you're coming back, then we're going to head on over to prototype. It is time to prototype. So what is a prototype? What is it? All right, so now how do we know if these solutions that we outlined are going to work? I don't know. Well, this is the phase where you find out. Welcome to phase 4. This is the phase where we're talking all about prototyping. What is a prototype? Well, A prototype is going to be an inexpensive, scaled down version of the solution that you wrote down before. As you're building out your prototype one by one, they're either going to be accepted, improved, re-examined, or rejected based all on that user's experience. So you have 4 different statuses of your prototype. So if you're somebody who's using a Google Sheet to come up with to follow along in this session, or if you're using a Google Doc, add in a note next to each of your ideas, whether or not it's going to be accepted, it's going to be improved, re-examined, or rejected. This is the experimental phase. So you aren't trying to create the workable product, not yet. You're just trying to create an experiment, hypothesis, a perhapsness, right? So this step is super critical. You are testing out your ideas to gain as much feedback from potential users as possible. Through the prototyping process, you're going to gain a better understanding of the constraints that are within the product, the feature, the service that you may not have foreseen before, right? So you actually get into creating some stuff and it's like, woo, I didn't know that that was going to happen. How many of us have gone through that? Yes, absolutely. You also have a more informed perspective of how your actual users will react and feel about the final product once they've interacted with it. If you're somebody who's stepping into, let's say, another culture and you're empathizing with that culture, you're creating something for that culture, but you didn't realize that the words that you used were off-putting to that culture, or they did not resonate with them for whatever reason. Or if you didn't realize that this part of town was seen as this thing, or maybe that's not the place where you want to actually stick your store to sell to that specific community. History also goes into play in that specific scenario. So come up with different ways that you are going to be enabled and empowered to act on your prototype. That's what this phase is all about. Through the prototyping process, you're going to gain a better understanding of the constraints within the product and feature and the problems that you didn't know of before. Let's take a look. All right. Once you've got enough data from the prototyping stage, it's time to create your MVP, your most viable, your minimum viable product. MVP, when we're talking about products and services, your MVP is your minimum viable product. This is the minimum thing that you can go out there and potentially sell with your idea. It is the bare bones version of what you're doing, right? This is what we call the simplest version of a workable product that is developed with the core features that are going to satisfy early adopters, but also is going to provide low risk for your investors. The MVP should be cost effective, and it should also be quick to develop while it's still providing some of the basic function that you've already decided on. You're going to need to have an idea of what your early adopters, and for those of you who don't know what that is, an early adopter is like your first users or first customer base, right? So the building of your customer base, your founding users, right? Those are called early adopters, okay? They're going to be eager. You want them to be eager to try something new. They're going to be looking for, thanks to the prototyping stage. So you're going to be looking for them. They're going to be looking for you. And you know that because you've gone through the steps before. So let's say that your goal is to create a vehicle that could take you from point A to point B. In the example here on top, you're seeing what represents each iteration of the prototype. So let's look at that. So looking at the little rounded thing over there that looks like a wheel, right? That's a single wheel. So first off, there was a wheel, and then there were 2 wheels and an axle, right? And then there were 4 wheels and 2 axles. The third image is the base of a vehicle. The fourth is the build out of the vehicle with no steering wheel. And the last of the prototype is something that is fully built out and it's fully functioning. That's the whole actual car. That's the vehicle there. And there's not much you can do with a wheel or two wheels with an axle except have a little bit of fun in a junkyard. But the body of a car without a wheel or without an engine, that's not viable really either. So the only viable product here is the fully functioning vehicle with all the bells and all the whistles. Let's try this again. In the bottom example, we focus on an MVP that solves the problem of our audience in the simplest way. So while in the images above, 4 out of those 5 were not even things that would solve our problem. If we're looking at the bottom, everything there solves our problem, right? It's just how does it solve our problem? So going from left to right, A to B, the first image is a skateboard. And we know that's going to get our audience or our community from this place they are to the place they're going. It's actually going to work. Now, each step in the prototyping process, you're going to make iterations as the initial product gets better. You're going to keep getting feedback. So how does that look? How does it show up? In the second iteration here, you might have decided to change the product slightly so that now you don't have a skateboard anymore, but now you got a scooter. Or as we progress, people told us that they wanted something that they could actually sit on instead of just a scooter. So now we've got a bicycle. And then someone else said, well, I don't want to just have a bicycle. I want to have an engine and I want to go a little bit faster than I can on a bike. So now we got a motorcycle, right? There's a motor in that cycle. And then someone else said, quite frankly, I want to be able to travel in the rain and the snow and in a blizzard. So, or when there's high winds. And so then we said, okay, well, let's cover up this car. Let's cover up the whole thing and we'll make it a little bit more hefty around the edges. And so that is when we decided that, hey, now we've got a car, right? So all of these are things that get us to our solution. But this is really a way that you can step through the process so you can see it a lot better. Your minimum viable product is not your end goal. It is one of the many steps that you're going to take towards your final product. To get to that point, you gotta do what we're talking about, which means designing the way that you're thinking, designing that process. You are going to do what we call iterate again and again and again. You're going to iterate. Keep testing your product and your service with your customer base, your user base, your community, and follow up with feedback. Maybe that leads you to more changes and enhancements. Maybe it takes you backwards to remove certain features altogether. What's important is that you're staying flexible and you're listening to the needs of your community and your user base to create the best and most well-received version of your product and or your service. Make sure that your community resonates with you. So if you are somebody who does not understand or you're having a hard time identifying with your community, you need to step back through this whole process and understand why people are not finding your value within the model that you've come up with, right? Why don't they find that valuable? We won't be prototyping in this session, but after this class, you can go and you can think about your options for a prototype. So do me a favor, and if you want to do this right now, go ahead and pause, and then you can come back. Either way, we're going to take a few minutes, and you guys can enjoy this quick video, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about testing, right? And we're back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope that woke you up a little bit. Thank you to Artsy and VR. She creates amazing luxury metaverse experiences, social VR experiences, concerts, halls of wonder, and museums and everything else that you could ever think of. She is amazing, and we definitely support everything that she does. So when you're thinking about the metaverse, I want you to think of me, but then I want you to think of Artsy, because Artsy is a world builder. She's a Black female who is doing amazing things, just tremendous movements for all of our communities, and it is extremely wonderful to be a friend and to have her be available to do those kinds of things. So thinking about ideating and thinking about making better prototypes, well, we're back here with the Black Multiverse Skill Up program, Grow with Google. We are growing with Google today, and we're talking all about how to design your thinking, how to use design thinking to create a project, a program, or a prototype for what you were doing. We just stepped through the prototype stage. So now we're going to talk about the next and the last phase of the design thinking methodology. And today we're going to be talking about testing, the testing phase. So, you may take as long as you want when it comes to your your prototype stage. You may take as long as you really want to really flesh that out, come up with some really quality prototypes. But then you got to test them. Like, it doesn't stop there. It's not just, oh, well, I got a prototype, now I'm done. No, you have to test that prototype. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this last phase, is testing. This is the final stage of the design thinking process. Now, you're not going to be able to do this in real time with me, because obviously your tests might, be very intricate, or even if it's a website, you're going to need a couple of days to step through good testing. But you want to be able to understand how to do this and then implement it in the design thinking process. So you're going to want to make sure that you test, evaluate, and then you might roll out, right? Like, you might launch, but then most times you go back and you reiterate, you iterate. Okay. Testing is an iterative process. What does that really mean, though? We've said that a couple times today, and we didn't really define it well. Let's talk about iterating. Iterating means that you are continually going back to make change. You're tweaking features, and in some cases, you're even going to scrap it and start all over. So the iteration phase is where you just keep going. And so, like, oh, this works, this doesn't work. We take this out, we put this back in, add in a new service, we remove this particular offering, based on what works and what doesn't work, right? That is iterative design. And so some projects will call this fluid. So you'll say, like, your process is fluid, or your project is fluid, or your onboarding is fluid. It's an ongoing type of iterative approach, right? So you'll see that in many different flavors, especially in technology, especially since the whole world is hanging out in this kind of Scrum based and agile based frameworks and methodologies that are out here right now. Now that you've learned the different phases of design thinking, you might be wondering, how can you use design thinking to make a new, more successful idea, or take an existing business process, product, or service, and then tailor it to the changing needs of your customers? Let's look at some examples. Well, all right. We're going to talk about Sunrise Coffee. Wani Romero is a former barista. Wani opened up her coffee shop on the first day of the Great Recession of 2008. Wow, what timing, right? She owns 3 cafes. While Wani was initially hesitant to tackle new digital tools, Her online presence became critically more important when the COVID pandemic came to her city of Las Vegas. She instantly knew she needed to keep her company solvent for the coffee shop, its employees, and the community. She needed to keep that company there. But what do you do when the pandemic hits, right? And you're a coffee shop. Now, a lot of you may have had very similar stories or may have stepped through this yourself, but how did you react versus what Wani did? So Wani survived, and Wani had to take a look at the needs of her changing customers, her employees, and their environment. This time, she had a new importance of supporting her customers, and she used her needs and work with like first responders to I'm sorry, she knew that her work with first responders was very important, and she wanted to make sure that she could continue to support them throughout the pandemic. She took her business almost entirely digital, selling sustainable sourced coffee beans, and she took them online. She added a web function, and that function allowed visitors to create coffee to give to and donate to first responders and healthcare workers. She kicked in a couple of additional bags every time someone donated. She was amazed at the response. Her customers were flocking in droves and buying her coffee online. Well, the media took notice, right? So wow, so she was able to really just steer things through, and she came up with a, some folks call those gimmicks, but it was a really good way of getting her message out there, getting and being able to support her community, which happened to entail the healthcare workers and the first responders. Wani was able to show her community how important they were to her. And in redesigning her business to support that need, she leveraged new tools that helped her to deliver a new type of product and a service to her audience. Whew. So let's talk about that. We're all done, guys. So when we're thinking about the design thinking process, we've just covered the 5 phases, the 5 stages of the design thinking process methodology. This framework included the ability to empathize in phase 1, the ability to define someone's problem in phase 2 and write out that problem statement. It included the ideation phase, where we transitioned from identifying problems to brainstorming solutions. Phase 4 is prototyping. In the prototyping phase, we thought about the ideas and how to get them out of our head and into the real world. Phase 5 brought us the testing phase, where we tested and we iterated. We found ways to improve our minimum viable product, which included testing and learning and iterating and iterating and iterating and iterating again and again and again. Wow, congratulations. So thank you so much for following. Today's session is just about complete, and I want to say thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for tapping in. I also want to say thank you to the team over at Grow with Google. And we're going to be providing you with a couple of resources. They'll be in the actual chat on YouTube. Now, if you are not watching us on YouTube, I want you to do me a favor and go ahead on over to our YouTube, and I want you to I want you to connect with us and go on over to that YouTube. Our YouTube is going to be youtube.com, and then it's at Black Multiverse, right? So at Black Multiverse. And then you're also going to be able to just go to blackmultiverse.live, and that will take you right there. All right, you guys. So we have a lot of resources to do. I'm going to go through some of these, but that does conclude today's training session. Now I'm going to talk all about Grow with Google and what that looks like and how you can grow with Google and Black Multiverse. Okay. So if you enjoyed today's lesson, I want you to, first of all, like, subscribe, share, and follow no matter where you are. If you're watching us on Twitter, you're watching us on LinkedIn or YouTube, or even over on Facebook, actually. We have over 200 countries that are following along and potentially listening right now. We also are in over 50 locations. Now, all of that is thanks to MaxDistro. If you are looking to get your podcast or your vodcast or your live stream, your webinars for your community or your coaching or your consulting business out in a more maximized way, come and maximize your distro with MaxDistro. You can find us at MaxDistro.live. If you were watching today's session, though, this is a part of the Grow with Google program. And so you are able to connect with Black Multiverse every Tuesday and Thursday in 2022 from 10 a.m. to noon, right here on Black Multiverse TV. We are also streaming on PodTV. We are also streaming on Blackverse TV. We are also streaming on MaxDistro TV and a lot of other locations. But again, we maximize distribution. That's literally what we do. So we want you to make sure that you're getting out there. Now, if you enjoyed this video, again, every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 a.m. to noon, you're able to connect with us right here, wherever you are. But if you want to connect with Google, you can also go to Google's YouTube channel at youtube.com/growwithgoogle. You can also do youtube.com/@growwithgoogle or search at growwithgoogle while you are on YouTube, and that will get you the information as well. Their channel publishes a new video every single Thursday that covers a different topic. So it is a topic that can help you in your skills, your career, or your business. It's a different way to experience the same content that that we're providing as well. So different voices. Sometimes you're going to resonate with me, other times you're not. So that's okay. We've got all sorts of different solutions for you. All right. Now, if you are thinking about a career, I want you to think about talking to me about a career in Black Multiverse. So we have sales positions that are open and available. You can come to us at blackmultiverse.io. If you are looking for a career, we have Google career certifications and scholarships that are available to our employees. We are able to give up to 1,000 scholarships to our communities through our joint efforts and our partnerships. And so we want to make sure that if you are in need, you are able to get what you need. And that is a leg up, that is to skill up. That is what this is all about. And so this portion of this is actually sponsored by the Black Multiverse Advanced Program. That is our internal program for our employees. Google also provides career certification. These are the same career certifications. It's the same program, just a different flavor of it, right? So these career certifications are available to you in IT support, project management, UX design, data analytics, digital marketing and e-commerce. And then if you're with Black Multiverse, it also enables you to have IT support for IT automation with Python. And so there's some really cool things that are going on. You were able to actually learn at your own pace and complete the online program on your own terms. We have a specific time frame for those employees of ours who are doing this, and it is free of cost if you are an employee. If you are not an employee, you can go on over to Grow with Google and you can sign up there. I believe it is a nominal cost to participate in one of those programs every month. Also, you receive certification. So this is a certification that comes from Google, regardless of whether you're doing that with Black Multiverse or you're doing it with Google. It is a certification that comes from Google and Coursera. All right. So when you are completing those things, yes, it is definitely for Black Multiverse, but the certification absolutely comes from Google. So you can take that and use it to market yourself no matter where you are. All right. All right, next up, Grow with Google is providing free training and online tools for everyone. So if you're a teacher or a student, if you are a local business owner, if you are a job owner, if you are a job hunter, or you are a developer, there are tools out there at Grow with Google that are able to help you succeed. And we want everybody to be able to succeed. So go over to google.com/grow. Some of our last sessions for this year are going to be around website design using Google Sites. And so we have some really cool things coming up these last couple of weeks. We will be continuing this program throughout the end of this year. I'm not sure what we're doing for 2023 yet. We haven't solidified that just yet, so I don't want to announce it. But we are going to be doing we're going to continue our endeavors, because that's what we do, is make sure that people have a way to get educated and can experience different things as educators, for sure, and as students also. All right, so I want to thank you so much for participating with Grow with Google today. I want to thank you for being here and for showcasing your interest in participating in the design thinking process. I do want to take a minute, and I do not have my sponsorship deck up, so I am going to just take a minute and thank all of the board of advisors for Black Multiverse. And so that includes our whole board. And so that is Mike Beck, Eric White, Dr. Tammy Francis, Naja Roberts, Artsy in VR, Julie Middleton, and Dr. Eric Kelly III. And so I want to thank all of our board members and everybody who has participated and helped us out. We are open to sponsorship. We are open to partnership, and we are open for donations. So if you would like to do any of those things, if you're looking to support an organization that is growing and trying to make some real strides within our communities for the future, please do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can come and talk to me at info@blackmultiverse.io. You can also catch us on Clubhouse. We do have a house and a club, several clubs and several houses, actually. And so we are looking to make those things happen, because 2023 is coming up. Our motto for 2022 and the Blackverse community was, it's 2022, we got work to do. We've got some new mottos for 2023. We're going to be rolling those out soon. But I also want to let everybody know that you can also get your Black Multiverse t-shirt and say that you were a part of the Black Multiverse Skill Up program on the MaxDistro store. So those are going to be available later this week, but I want to be able to provide you with the link now because this is hitting the interwebs. So we're going to go with maxdistro.store is what that is. And so you're going to be able to get your t-shirts and your hoodies and other little things that will help you to remember this time that you spent learning and growing with Google and with Black Multiverse. And that is actually at maxdistro.store. So you're going to be able to go there and go shopping. So it's the holiday season. Definitely go shopping with some folks. Get your people all geared up for the new year. We're going to have 2023, some 2023 gear out there as well. But specific for this program, there will be something that is available to us, and that is going to start, I think the sale goes on Saturday. So yeah, that is starting soon. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. Thank you for thinking differently and being a little bit more strategic as you think. If you are thinking about a career, a future, and the possibilities for your business in the metaverse, please do reach out to me. I am a metaverse consultant. I have, as I said, several years of history and some really amazing projects under my belt as an implementation consultant. But I help people to understand the possibilities for the future in the metaverse and also help you get started with your very own. So if you are thinking about that, please reach out to me at metamindshift.com. You can go right there. Boom, right there. Got it. At metamindshift.com. You're going to be able to connect with me. You can connect with me. Just get on my calendar. You can also go to technikole.com, technikole.com, and go to the scheduling page, and you'll be able to schedule an appointment. Because that's what's really cool about this part of the future is that you don't have to wait for me. You can just book a time. All right, you guys. This is one of our last sessions for this year, and so I want to thank everybody who has tapped in and supported. Thank you to all of the Blackverse community members who have listened either on Discord or participated in our Google Meets that we were having for a while, as well as those who are listening live in Clubhouse or in any of our other spaces. So thank you. Have a very wonderful holiday season. This is Nicole, and my voice is resting. Thank you.